Hello and welcome. If this is your first time coming to this channel, thanks for coming. If you're coming back, thanks for coming back. Anyway, how about those solar flares? They were pretty awesome lately. Anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about today is what they call taking the somersault of thought into the inconceivable. Now, I'm getting this stuff from uh, Carlos Castaneda and his experiences with Don Juan, and I find those books fascinating, and have done some. Well, anyway, it's too hard to explain. Anyway, the somersault of thought into the inconceivable. What in the heck is that? So, um, death. Our death is like the only worthy opponent we have. Death is our challenger. There's two distinct times in our lives. There's when we were born and when we die. All the rest of it doesn't really matter. What matters is how we're going to die. See, energy cannot be destroyed. It can only change. It only changes form, and everything is energy. So I guess we don't really die. So what can you do to a being who can never die? Well, maybe I think what's happened here is they make you forget about everything. They make you forget who you were, who you are, and put into a dream state. We were born to take the challenge of death. Um, there's actually an alternate way to die. It's one in which we return uh, with our knowledge intact instead of having it erased and wiped clean slate technology or whatever you call it. Doesn't happen. You're able to merge with the universal energy and become one, and that's kind of our goal here, and actually to ascend this reality. Um, the life is the process by means of which death challenges us. If you think about it, we're kind of passive beings, and death is always making us do this thing or that thing, or we're just, if this happens, we got to go this way, and this happens, we got to go that way. Well, it's all kind of triggered upon death. We're avoiding that, and for a warrior and a sorcerer, we want to make death our advisor, and death is like the active force in this reality. It's what challenges you. Uh, and life is like the arena we live in, that where we get challenged by death, and death actually sets the pace for our active thoughts and our actions, thoughts, and feelings. It pushes us relentlessly until death actually wins, or we manage to beat all possibilities and rise above all possibilities and actually defeat death. And that's been done by a few, and it doesn't mean that you're going to live forever. It just means that death doesn't challenge you anymore, and you're left to go free. Um, never to be challenged again by death. And so that is freeing to hear about that. Now, that's how thought takes a somersault into the inconceivable. Because I mean, you wouldn't think that would be possible because that's outside the scope of your normal everyday living and how your reality is. Um, Even though most people walk around thinking that death is something that happens to somebody else. Um, they waste their time spinning around thinking they have forever. They're going to live forever in this incarnation. There's no rational explanation for taking the somersault of thought into the inconceivable. You're just gonna have to. You just kind of know what I mean when I'm saying that. I don't know. I have notes here. The part of you that knows what I'm talking about it when I say taking a somersault of thought into the inconceivable is what we want to tap into. And for some reason, it seems that this is suppressed somehow. It's hard to tap into. It's not. It's like there's some kind of active force saying no, we're not going to tap into that. It seems to be suppressed, and what we wish to do is just break down our already always viewpoint of reality and what our perception is, our already always manner of perception. And we want to move that perception to a different outlook. And that's what we call seeing. Because if you're always just stuck in that same viewpoint, you're never going to see a different type of reality. You're never going to get off. It's just what freight train to death. And so this is how we kind of get off that. We view a different viewpoint of perception. And what you do is you assemble a whole new different world. And it's very powerful. And it's actually taking a somersault of thought into the inconceivable. Because it's inconceivable that you can actually even do this. It's your being is telling you that's impossible. So I'm here to tell you it's not, and that there's certain things we can do when we tap into the spirit, and there's certain things we can do to actually tap into the spirit. Some people like to tell stories. Some people like to dance. Some, might like to write. There's all sorts of different things, but it's that flavor of thing that I'm talking about, because you can't really explain this. It's too hard to put into words because words won't describe it. You can't describe what I'm talking about. But what we want to do is we want to practice anything to break the perceptual barriers of our normal, everyday, always listening. And when we do that, we can become free. Now, there's a great example of what it means, what kind of power we can get by taking a somersault of thought into the inconceivable. It's, for example, let's take like the Mandela effect. Like Nelson Mandela, for a lot of people, he have been known to have died in prison. So he died in prison to a lot of people. That they remember him dying in prison. But if you look at history today, it says that he didn't. Although there's all these people that remember that he died in prison. And for a sorcerer or a warrior, actually both would be true. Because That's what it's like to take a somersault of thought into the inconceivable. Is actually you can change your timelines, you can quantum leap, because we got this type. We're heading towards this type of outcome, but if we change our perception and we can jump over here to this different timeline, and then bam, it goes a different way, and we get a different outcome. And this is very powerful. This is actually sorcery, and it's very powerful to be able to do something like this. But it's going to be impossible unless we can do certain practices and actually. We're going to have to do stop our thoughts and stop our perception, our everyday, always already listening of perception of reality. And for some, it's going to be a hard job to do. It's very powerful. First, we need to learn how to clear not only the mind, but our entire being. Because it's like our mind's been chattering our whole lives. We've been told what to do, we've been controlled, manipulated, you know, who who knows what, and plus past incarnations, some baggage can carry around, and it creates karma. And karma is not what you really think it is. It's like, what is it? It's a bundle of energy that's tied up into a knot because of your shitty thoughts, and it's sitting there and it's causing a stagnant energy in your field. And if you can see, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you look at people walking down the street, you pull the veil off, you'll see they're covered in muck, and it's quite disgusting because nobody ever does any etheric hygiene. So it's like we've got to start cleaning ourselves up, and this is the only way we'll have enough personal power to actually be able to do something like take a somersault of thought into the inconceivable and alter our timelines, alter our reality to something better and to our highest potential. We may not be able to change our destiny, but we sure can steer our potential. We can always go to our highest potential inside of our destiny. So that's what we focus on as a warrior, and it takes unbending intent, and it also takes impeccability to be able to do this. You have to be a warrior to walk this path. You have to live the life of a warrior because it's only a warrior can survive. Otherwise, you're just going to your mind's going to go back into the same old dream. You're going to be sucked back into it. Hey, I have too. I've been sucked back into it, and back into it, and back into it, and then you can't pop out. I don't have full blown. What do you call alter? I don't know. Anyway, I don't have full blown. See, my mind is gone. So anyway, heightened perception, heightened awareness. I don't have full blown heightened awareness all the time. It's temporary, and so I'm working on getting it all the time. But it takes quite a while, and it takes a lot of practice, and you got to clean up everything. You've got to go through your entire life to do this, and it is worth doing because I tell you what, once you start doing it, you'll realize you're gaining energy, you're gaining power, and you start to feel younger, and you can accomplish more. So it's quite remarkable, and all this stuff I'm saying is taking a somersault of thought into the inconceivable because you couldn't conceive of it earlier before we had this conversation. You weren't conceiving of it wasn't coming across your perception at all. It's not even on the desk. It's not even in the same universe as what you were thinking until we started talking about this. So that's what makes it so powerful, is that, yeah, maybe there is something else that we're not seeing. And once you are able to accomplish this, just on a minute little scale, you'll actually start to realize you'll actually start the snowball effect will start taking, and your personal power will start gaining momentum, and you'll start realizing this is a very magical place we're in. The world is absolutely not what it appears to be, but it is very magical, and that we have the keys to it, and you can do anything you want. That's why death is that's why death is our only challenger. The only worthy opponent is death, and because that's the only one who can challenge us, because this is a magical place and we have the keys to it. There's no technology can match this. There's nothing can touch it, because you're operating under universal will. When you're operating with the universe in concordance with nature and the laws of the universe, there's nothing that can stop you. Think about it. You've got the universe behind you. That's more power than anything. So I'm just saying, maybe you might think I'm crazy, but I don't think so. This has been going on for a long, long time now. It's just some of us are aware of it, and some of us are not. It's a matter of awareness. So, time to wake up. I just, if you're just waking up, congratulations, and take a look around. Who's been running the ship? Because it probably hasn't been you. And you got to start cleaning up all those nasty thoughts we've had, because they're still running around in our field. So I've been working on that myself too. It's not no saint. I was, what a black magician is somebody who's asleep and not aware of what their thoughts do, how their thoughts actually create realities and worlds. So once you can see that, and boy, you start shaping up real fast, because you do not want. It's a matter of impeccability. You need to be impeccable with your word, and that's what they mean by it. Is because your word creates everything. So. Anyway, that's what I kind of wanted to touch base on today, is taking a somersault of thought into the inconceivable. And it's inconceivable because it's not something we normally talk about. But it's very powerful. And if you start to live like this, you start to live quantum. And so linear time stops happening. You'll notice you're jumping, and you might even lose things. It gets way crazy. But hey, it's just like, once you start doing it, there is like no going back. You just cannot go back. It's impossible. Some do, some give up, and that's a shame. But I'm saying you're way more special than you ever thought or dreamt of, or anybody ever told you were. So I like to take notes before I talk to you guys, because it lets the creative juice flow, and so lets me get into the mood of talking to you guys about this stuff. Anyway, I want to thank you for coming and watching. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and subscribe, and we'll keep the videos coming. Hey, thanks for watching, and make it a great day.